Yay!
Hi, good evening, and welcome to the IBD Ostomy Support Show. My name's Rachel, and I write a blog, Rocking Two Stomas, and I'm filling in for Louise because she currently has a bad flu, and Steffi is still on her sabbatical. So I hope they feel better soon. Oh, I can hear myself talking. Oh no!
Turn your YouTube off.
It's bad, isn't it?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I had my YouTube on and it went live. Anyway, so tonight we have Natalie, Steve and myself, and this week it's Natalie's month. So Natalie's come up with all the subjects, and this week we're talking about the stigma attached to using disabled toilets. So we will cover the current media coverage around this, and there's been quite a few campaigns over the years, radar keys and the can't wait card, and talk about other campaigns that are underway. And we would love to hear from you. So please use the live chat that Natalie's going to be looking at. And we've discussed this quite interesting topic. So I'm Rachel, as I said, and I've got a blog, Rocking Two Stomas. Last week, we came back from Gran Canaria, which was amazing. It's really, really good. And it was a really good experience, but I'm very exhausted this week and I've got an infection. So I've been trying to catch up with work, and I've just been a bit stressed this week and tearful. So I'm trying to not do too much and stay off the phone, which has been quite hard. So now I go back to Bournemouth on Friday. So I get the train tomorrow and I can get back into my routine and catch up with things I need to do. And I think that's about it, really. I'll pass you over to Natalie.
Hi, I'm Natalie, aka the Spoonie Mummy. My week. I can't even think of what I've been doing. We obviously had Layla Tuesday, which was lovely. She's started saying nat lots, so that's really good. That's what I'm doing. Today I went for lunch with my mum. I had the boys at the weekend, which was really good. We went bowling, which they absolutely loved. And then we met my brother and his wife and their little girl, the boy's cousin, at a play centre on Sunday morning. So that was really nice for them to see her and have a little run around. I'm trying to think what else. I don't think, other than that, I've not really done a lot. I've been working on the blog quite a bit. I've done some uni work. My assignment obviously went in last week, and I've started my next two sort of subjects with that. So, but yeah, my blog work's been going really well actually, and I've had two sort of exciting opportunities. What I can and can't say. But obviously I'll share it when it's all sort of done and dusted.
You went off for a second then, Nat. You went off for a second then, and you might have said some valuable information. And that's why we're smiling.
Probably not, I'm just rambling.
And I would have got away with it if it weren't for.
But yeah, so one of them's pretty much sort of sorted and set in place, and one of them I've been asked about. So hopefully that will come to. So yeah, I'm really pleased. I'm sort of treating the blog more like a job, which sounds a bit horrible, but I think when you become a blogger, you can really, once it starts to kick off and you're getting a lot of messages and a lot of stuff, you can sort of end up sitting there till 11 o'clock at night on your phone with people messaging.
Wow. We've just had this conversation.
We've literally just had this conversation.
Well done, Nat. Well done. I'm impressed.
Time to sort of sit there, just say, right, for now, for 3 hours, I'm going to sit, which is what I did on Wednesday. I said to Steve, right, this afternoon, I'm just going to sit and do some blog stuff. So I managed to get some posts up that I'd sort of started prepping, but I managed to type them all up, get them prepped and ready to go, reply to some emails, and literally then come off it and sort of stay away from it as much as possible. Which is working really well.
You got to treat it like a job, because it overcomes your whole life, and then before you know, you're offline for a bit.
Yeah, you want to support people and you want to be there all the time, but you can't be, and it can impact so much in your life. And
we've had the same conversation, because I've since coming back, I've been on the phone a lot, trying to people, being inundated with messages, and I really struggle with the balance. And it's something that I've started time blocking, which has helped with my work time on my laptop, but I need to also do it with my phone, because I'm constantly looking, and it's become an obsession, and it's impacting time with Steve. And it's like,
I have to phone her up now if I want to get some time.
That'd be horrible.
I think the phone is hard because it's obviously you have it on you all the time, don't you? And like I don't have a camera, so when I'm out with the boys and I'm taking photos, I'll be like, oh, I've got a message. But what I do now is turn off my internet, so my phone is literally a camera.
That's good.
I'm out with them, and obviously the time we spend with all the kids is just important time to have sort of them, just them. So that's definitely a good positive thing that I've sort of done this month. I think that's helping.
That's great.
Otherwise, I've not done a lot. We're going to Halifax tomorrow. We've got Layla for the weekend, so that will be good. I don't think we've got anything major planned to do, but I'm sure we'll think of something while we're there. But other than that, I've not really done a lot. I've got to go for my blood test tomorrow after my first Alara. It was 2 weeks ago, so I'm due bloods now. Anyway, but I need to go and get them done tomorrow. How you
getting on with that now? Any difference?
I am, yeah. I definitely noticed an increased bit of energy, not massively, and it's still a bit up and down, but I've noticed that there is times I feel more, the fatigue has sort of dropped off a little bit, and my arthritis has eased, not completely, but it's definitely something's working, I think. And I get my next one in 2 weeks, so hopefully I've not seen any major side effects. I was just saying to Rachel, I've started having dizzy spells today, and I've just had a glass of the glucodrate stuff that Steve has to take in case I'm a bit dehydrated. I have been drinking a lot today, but I did have a lot of Coke when I was out with my mum. So
does it mention dizzy spells in the thousands of words that are in?
Yeah, this is what I'm thinking it could be, but obviously it's been 2 weeks, so I'm not sure whether it would suddenly take effect now, but I mean, it could work. It's obviously in your system for weeks, isn't it? Because that's how it works. So could be that. I've got a preconceived in at the minute, so if I talk weird or I'm messing with my lip, it's because there's a tablet in there dissolving. Because I've had bouts of vertigo before, and prochlorperazine is one of the anti-sickness drugs I use, but that's also given when you've got vertigo. So Steve was like, "Well, have one just in case it's that." So, but we'll see. But like I say, I'm gonna have the bloods tomorrow. I was like, make sure I get them done tomorrow because they can check all my levels of stuff as well to see if anything else is going on. But no, other than that, I don't think I've done an awful lot. So I'll pass you on to Steve.
Hi, I'm Steve, aka Baghdaddy, a hashtag. My week, full on acting in Gran Canaria, driving in the mountains.
Movie stars tonight.
Driving in the mountains, topless car. I'm not saying no more.
No, we did. People were looking at us when we were there, and it was like they kept asking, "You movie star? You movie star?" No, it was good. It was funny.
It was a really good. It was hard work, but well worth it. Obviously, more to be talked about this in the future when it's all out. I've been boxing Monday boxing. Tuesday, I had the kids for tea. Injured my knee in boxing. Didn't know until I had a shower on the evening. So I've been in agony. I bought a strap for my knee. Went boxing last night. I thought I've got to show up because the trainer said, well, we've started sparring now. So the trainer said, this is when people will stop coming because, you know, the sparring, people don't like getting hit in the face. So they're going to stop turning up. And he was right. About 6 people didn't turn up. I thought, I'm not going to be one of them 6. I'll turn up. And
he's toppling that. His knee's that bad.
But you know what? I did sparring last night and it was wicked. I loved it. I'm in a lot of pain today, but we're going to get there. 4 weeks away, the fight is.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I've got bought all the vest top, the shorts, having the Baghdaddy printed on the back. Got my walkout music all sorted. It's gonna be good. Just got to sell some tickets now.
Yeah, I think I've got a feeling we've got Layla, which means we won't be able to come. But
it's not a problem.
Yeah, my mum and dad will have the boys, but
at the moment I've paid for them myself. I've got a table of 10 ringside, so I've got to make sure that I perform rather than being sick in the corner and crying.
Yeah, I'm sure Rachel will be like watching like this. I'll be like horrified. But
she's more excited than me.
Yeah, I'm gonna feel well proud. I think
I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be good.
Means so much to Steve. Like when he hurt his legs Monday, you were gutted, weren't you? Because you were worried about, you know, if you could go to training and stuff. And I know how much it means to you. Well,
even if they let you in a wheelchair, you could like wheelchair boxing. You're not going to get knocked out as easy.
No,
it should be good. I'm looking forward to it, and pretty much every day has been taken up with something. It's been that busy. There's not enough hours in the day. There really isn't. I've been seeing my dad tonight. I spent 2.5 hours driving there and back. It's just full on. You know what I mean? And I've got the kids this weekend, which will be nice because I haven't seen them for a couple of weekends. Obviously, Rachel's going back tomorrow. I'd like to have drove her back, but can't be done tomorrow, can it, go?
No, I'll get the train.
But that's pretty much me.
Right, well, so tonight's topic is about, thank you, Nat, it's about stigma with the toilet. I've gotten there.
Disabled toilet stigmas.
That's it, yeah, it went out of my head, yeah. Exactly, the stigma attached to using disabled toilets. And the current media coverage. So do you guys have a radar key?
Yes.
I've got 2 actually.
Have you?
I had 2.
Mine with my first stoma delivery, I got sent a radar key out with. And then I also got one. I signed up for the My Plus, is it Convatec or somebody's
Me Plus Convatec.
Yeah. I signed up to that to get the like the email updates and stuff like that. And when they sent the initial pack thing out, that had another one in, which is quite handy because that's quite a small one. My other one's quite big, but that one sort of goes on my keys nicely without looking too huge. So yeah, but I just keep mine in my handbag. I've got like a little bag that's got all my tablets and stuff in, so I just keep it in there, and then it's always in my bag for when I need it. But then one of the issues is with disabled toilets is they're not always locked. So you don't always need it, but then obviously people just use it willy-nilly if they feel like it or if there's a queue.
Yeah.
But I chose this because there was the big thing. I mean, it's always been an issue and it's always sort of been debated about whether people with ostomy should be using disabled toilets or shouldn't. People with IBD, should they not? But Blake Beckford recently got refused access to a toilet in Manchester. I'm sort of on the fence with it. I can sort of see his point. He was having a leak, which is just the most awful thing. When he was on his way to a meeting and his bag was leaking, and it obviously leaks out onto your clothes, and if you've not got an outfit with you, it's just the most awful thing. But also I know a lot of sort of public buildings like that, it's a lot of it's insurance reasons why they can't let you use the toilets and things like that, because it is for staff only and whatnot. But I thought it was just sort of in the news at the moment, and it might be interesting to sort of see where people stand. And
I've done a little bit of research, so I kind of looked back, and this has been quite a relevant topic over the years. Different people have been affected. In 2016, Sam Cleesby at So Badass, she went to a gig in Manchester and she forgot her radar key. She asked the member of staff to open the door, and they said that you don't have a wheelchair, you're not allowed in the disabled toilet. So then she asked another member of staff, because she was in the middle of having a leak, and they let her in, and she made national coverage because of the same reason. And then she got a woman tutted at her from using the disabled toilet, and she wrote a post about that. And in 2015, Caroline Richard, she made national headline because she was changing her stoma and putting all the things on the toilet because there's no shelf. And that's regarded that she's working with the Colostomy Association to get the petition going around about shelves in disabled toilet. There's so much that we can cover. There's so many at the moment. It seems to be a very relevant subject, like Richard's
thing at the minute as well with the signage of them, isn't there?
Exactly.
supermarkets, and I know it's going on in like places like airports and bus stations and stuff, are changing their signs so it's not the person in the wheelchair. It's sort of a man sign, a woman sign, and a wheelchair, and it says on it that the illness is invisible. So
yeah, the one that I saw in Birmingham Airport was not all disabilities are visible, and that's the first time I've seen that sign. And I saw it in Birmingham. I took a picture when Steve went to the toilet, and I used the disabled toilets. Now, for me, I try not to use the disabled toilet, and I was trying to work out why I do that. If I'm having a leak, I will change my stone bag in a disabled toilet. But if I can, I'd rather go in a normal toilet, and I don't exactly know why.
Well, that's fine if you're just emptying.
Yeah.
But if you are actually changing, I think personally, you need two things. You need a sink, you need a basin, and a mirror.
Yeah.
So you can see what you can see in front of yourself, and even the surfaces. There's always somewhere you can hook your black bag on with your clean stuff in, and hook a black bag.
The baby changing thing in there, don't they? And I often like put that down and use that as sort of like a table to put all my stuff out on if they've got that in there. But
I think a sink is imperative, isn't it?
Yeah, you need the sink, and like you say, the mirror as well, handy.
But for emptying, I tend to use a normal toilet. But if I need to change my stomas or need to go into the disabled toilet, then I will use that as well.
Same.
See, emptying, I will use a disabled toilet if there is one, because I'm a bit of a freak about the smell. But since doing my ostomy smell and discovering new products, I've been carrying my Happy Flush goes in, so I've got just a little one that will fit in my little medicine bag with my key and that. And I've had to, in fact, just in the last week, twice I've gone out and had to use public toilets, and I've used that, and I can't tell you like how much better I feel, because I've got the Christmas one in there though, which is a bit random because I sprayed it the other day and I was like, oh, Christmas. but yeah, things like that help. But I do get a bit, just the noise and the smell, and so if there is a disabled toilet, I will sometimes use that for emptying as well. But for, like you say, for changing, I once got the train down to St Pancras, got to the station, and the queue was coming out of the women's toilets and right back down to the hallway.
Wow.
And I was actually having a leak. It was coming out. And so I ran past them all to the disabled toilet and had to wait. There was somebody in there, but they were all looking at me. The amount of look, I was just like, so embarrassed. And I normally would say something, but I was just like, I can't, like, I'm trying to keep my clothes out of the way so I'm not getting stuff on my clothes.
And a lot of people, it wasn't just one or two that everyone was staring.
Massive queue, and they obviously all just thought queue jumping. I'd got a big suitcase with me, and they were like, oh, but I was like, no, this is an emergency.
It's the same. I kind of won't. I'll use them when I need to. You know, like if I go into a supermarket and there's no toilet roll, or it's absolutely disgusting, then I'll use the disabled. Then I've had a couple of people question me, and I've lifted up my top and just said, look, you know, we don't all have a wheelchair or a crutch.
Yeah.
You know, but
the thing is, I've always been allowed to use them and encouraged by my doctors because the seats are higher.
Yeah.
Because the arthritis, it's not always for me to sit down, because in the little cubicle you don't even have things to hold on to help you sit down and get back up. It's really awkward. But obviously as a child that could be even worse. I never really sort of got any flack as the child, but I think you're sort of oblivious to some of it when you're that age, aren't you? You just get on with it anyway. But for me that's the other side of it anyway. But
the reason why I tend to use public toilets more, I think, is because I've had quite a few bad experiences with using the disabled toilets. Well, you know, when I had my suprapubic catheter, I had my ileostomy, I'd completely lost my voice. I was in a controlling relationship. I lost my voice. I lost my kind of courage at all. You know, I didn't have anything, and I remember using the disabled toilet and being completely, this whole group of people just really attack me, and it really kind of threw me. If that happened to me now, I would just show my stomas and you know, I've got my voice now, I'd give what to, but it's kind of, I use the normal toilets, and if there's no toilet roll or I need to change my stomas, then I will use the disabled toilet. I'm starting to use them a bit more. Like I used them at the airport, didn't I, Steve? And I'm sort of, but mine is probably more the acknowledgement of my own illness. I still have got a level of denial. I still struggle around that. And I think mine's more that side, not that I'm ashamed to have stomas, not that I'm ashamed to use a disabled toilet. You know, that they can help so many people. And I think it's really important to get it out there into the media and to talk for advocates to talk about our experiences, because that's the only way we're going to be able to deal with it and to change things.
I took my boys out once for a day out. We went to the Sea Life Centre, and obviously they're of an age, I mean, at the time they were probably 7 and 4, possibly coming up to 8 and 5. So going in a normal toilet cubicle with them is hellish anyway, because they're obviously 2 boys and you're trying to get in, and I've got to stand up to empty my bag, and that they hate it. They're like, oh, it stinks and all that. But that's by the by. But this time I'd gone in the disabled toilet because it was right there. I did need to sort my bag out, so it wasn't just a quick way of what's it in. But while I was in there, and I hadn't had it very long. My operation was in the April, and this was in the summer holiday, so it's sort of by the August. So it's still taking me a little while getting used to things and whatnot. And the kids had got bored and were literally running around banging on the door. I was like, don't open that door. It was like a moment of hell. And somebody from the Sea Life Centre came and knocked on the door, and they were like, are you okay in there? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I was like, please don't open the door, because obviously you can open the doors.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm fine. Please, like, leave us alone. But got out, and there was a lady sat in a wheelchair with her husband pushing her with the most sour face, and they basically complained that somebody was in there. Obviously, they could hear the kids running around, but didn't know that I was actually sorting my bag out. And I held the door open. Wow, they were just so snotty. They didn't even say thank you. They were like, but because the boys were there, and obviously, like I say, it wasn't that long after my operation. It really, really got me down. And then I was myself afterwards, not having said anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't want to start anything with the boys there. They were clearly just really snotty and horrible. And I mean, the staff member that had come to check had waited, and they were lovely, and they were like, it's fine. Like, we just wanted to make sure you were okay. But it really can, like, especially when you've just had your operation and you're getting your confidence with it all, something like that can really knock you back. And
it really can. And I've noticed, I've seen it last year across the Ostomy awareness group. We had quite a lot of people that have dealt with that. And there was one lady, she was in Debenhams, and a woman approached her and confronted her and was really horrible, and she just burst out crying and ran to her husband. But it really, she put the message in the group, it really, really upset her, and it really pushed her back. And I think it's like, just be mindful that not all illnesses are visible, and I think that it can really affect people. It can really affect their journey. It can really affect what they've been through, and it's just it's important, I think, to get experiences out there and to make people more aware.
It's almost
talking about it.
It's almost like you feel like you have to explain, whereas you really don't. You really don't. You can give them just as much of a dirty look as they gave you, because they're offering you no support, and just because they might have a physical illness that you can see, you know, you're not taking the piss out. You just literally got in there for a reason.
Yeah.
So I kind of like
with old people who assume because they're old they can use a disabled toilet. And I know obviously a lot of old people, you get arthritis and bits and bobs, but what's it on the fact that they are old, we can use it, and they look down on you because you're a young person using it, and you're like, well, actually I've physically got a disability or a condition or something that entitles me to use this bathroom. You're just old, and that isn't
it's exactly the same discriminatory behaviour with parking spaces, with the disabled parking. You know, I've seen lads pull up in there, and I know they're disabled, but the looks they're getting from an old couple that he's pushing his wife in a wheelchair, I'm thinking, you don't know anything about that lad.
Not even.
You don't know all the pipes and tubes that are coming out of his stomach.
Yeah. And I think this goes further, and I think this goes further. That it's not just about disabled toilets. I think it goes much more further. As I was talking to a urologist today and talking to a few other people today, and I've said the same thing. It's the awareness of illnesses in young people. I feel like every time in the hospital I have to fight to be heard, fight to get physio to come see me because I'm too well to have to exercise. It's like there is a level of discrimination for young people having illnesses, and I think it goes beyond the toilet. It's invisible illnesses, but trying to get the awareness out there from everybody, because we still get looked upon. We judge straight away. You know, we're judged for using disabled space. We're judged for coming out of disabled toilet. Yeah. And it can really affect you. Like, I know it affected me. I was on the Bristol, a similar thing. I was in Bristol bus, and I had an ileostomy and my suprapubic catheter, and the catheter had disconnected, so I was covered in urine. I was in there's two instances actually. I was in a disabled seat. I was covered in urine, and it was just just covered. And so I went up to the bus driver and I said, "I'm so sorry, my catheter's just disconnected. I've got no towels on me." And he had a massive go at me, and I was in a really vulnerable place, and I was hysterical. Got off the bus, I walked all the way home, and I was hysterical, and he was really rude. And then the other time was I used a disabled space on the bus, and this lady was just giving me, just being awful, and I just pulled up my leg and I showed her the catheter, you know, and I just said, now I would handle it a lot better. Now I'm not as kind of emotional and vulnerable as I was. But they sort of impacted, and I think it's possibly why I don't use disabled toilets all the time. You know,
because if you can avoid it, you will.
That's right. It's whether you need it or not, isn't it? But if there was if there's a really busy queue and you're about to leak, I think that is really an emergency. Mm-hmm. Because it's like you said, there's nothing worse than being in that position and you don't know when you can go to the toilet and your bag is full. And just the sheer panic of, oh my God, what am I going to do? You know, then you need to get there. And if it means people looking at you and huffing and puffing, let them turn, smile as you go past, wave at them.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember, like, when you first had your soma? I remember when I first had my ileostomy, the dilemma. Do you use it when you go out and do you use the toilets and the smell? And it was like, and mine was 6 years ago now, nearly 7 years. And it was, I remember just it being quite painful because I didn't know. I was worried about the smell and worried about, and you sort of over time you get used to it and the situations don't. But for some people, they don't leave their homes because they're worried about having leaks, you know, and the toilet, knowing that disabled toilets there, they can use it, is so important. And I think it's just, regardless of your opinion around this issue, it's important to get it out there about the invisible illnesses. It's just important to get your stories out there so that we can be recognised. And we're fighting together as a community.
My main issue. Sorry, Nat, your turn this time.
I was just going to say, I did a poll on Twitter about whether you use public disabled toilets as an ostomate or someone with IBD. 83% said yes. 11% said no, and 6% said they don't use public toilets. And these are the people that aren't going out. I spoke to one woman quite a lot. She doesn't go out because she doesn't want to use public toilets. She's embarrassed about leaks. And I just think, I mean, it was 6% of 54 votes. I don't quite know how that tallies up, but
that's impacting your whole life then, isn't it? Isn't
it? Yeah. But I got comments like, do you use the disabled toilets when out as feel more confident emptying my bag? A few skittish comments from people with more visible disabilities. I've just had to put them straight. Yeah, I use them, had some weird looks in doing so though. I use whatever toilet's closest and available, disabled or not. And somebody that said, I've used a disabled one at work when desperate. I haven't used one in public, but certainly would if I had no other choice. But it's still, like, for them, a last resort.
But did you guys catch Richard, who was on last week at the Stick? He was did his radio interview on Bristol. They were talking about the cut of public toilets. Did you listen to that, Nat?
I didn't listen to it. No, I didn't see that he was on there till afterwards because we were out all day.
It was. I watched it on Catch Up. I think you can go on his feed and re-watch it. He was brilliant. He was really, really good. And there were two people. There was a lady on there that had two twins and was talking about public toilets. And Richard also was raising awareness for stomas, but explaining how they're important. You know, and the way he voiced himself. Yeah, he did it really well. I felt quite proud actually to be.
I'll find it. I'll try and pop the link on the show page, the Facebook page.
It was really good, because that's the other discussion is the closure of public toilets as well. You know, and it is not just in Bristol. I think it's happening everywhere with the cuts that are happening in areas.
Yeah, I know some of the ones were closed in Derby. We've had a big Into centre built. Well, it's Westfield first, now it's Into, and obviously they have public toilets. But I know the ones sort of outside of that in the actual shopping centre, they went a few years ago now. And it's, the thing is, there's loads of shops, there's loads of restaurants and cafes and stuff, but you find that you get the whole, but you've got to be a customer to use them as well.
With the public toilets, there's always the issue of people using them to do drugs and stuff, you know, so it's kind of like you're always going to have that in your way of keeping something like that open, and obviously there's the cost of maintaining and cleaning, you know, and who pays for that. So it's always a very touch and go subject, that one is, isn't it?
We've got
for someone with IBD, it's really important, especially if you're out and about.
I remember before I had my stoma, and ever since being a child, with all because I've been sort of having bowel problems since I was about 8 or 9. But when I needed to go right then and there. And I used to hate public toilets because going to the toilet for a poo was just always a nightmare for me from a young age. It was just awful. So I used to avoid them as much as possible. But when I did need to go, I had to go then and there, because I wouldn't go to the toilet sometimes for like 2 weeks. And then if I held it for any length of time, I would then not go for possibly another week or 2. And I would just be bloated and in pain, and it was just awful. And like you say, if you're somewhere with no public toilets, but there's a restaurant there, but then they're saying you have to buy something it's difficult.
But it's not just IBD, you know, it's important to recognise that, you know, people with bladder issues, you know, incontinence, they need to go, you know, it's covers, it's any bladder, bowel issues, anything else in that way. I
didn't mean to miss you out then, girl.
No, that's okay. No, I just, it's not, when sometimes talking with IBD, there's more probably in the IBD community than the bladder community, and the bladder issues communities is a lot smaller, but we're all after the same reason. We're all after the same. It's all incontinence really due to
I was going to say
bladder issues, and I think it's good. I think the community is stronger online with the IBD than the urology, because there are so many different illnesses. It's starting to get stronger, but it's good because it helps other less common diseases push through. So I wasn't having a go. I just wanted to mention that it's also people with bladder issues as well.
But I was going to say, there's
laughing at me
on the chat. So we've got one saying, I was once pushed by an old lady as me and her were both waiting to use the disabled toilet. She pushed me and said, use the gents, as he opened the door. Graham's got a radar key, not only because of his stoma, but also he uses a wheelchair. And he's noticed recently that he's been to football matches. He's noticed the stewards using the disabled toilets, which is obviously really wrong.
They're normally a lot cleaner, aren't they? How come I'm hearing myself in my ears now? What's all that about? I haven't got YouTube on. Do you remember the picture I did last year or a couple of years ago, holding the radar key, the big one?
Yeah.
Have you still got it?
It was just a regular key, but I angled it right. That was a CC UK. They took that picture. No, I think it was Get Your Belly Out. Had it?
I think it was. Before, wasn't it? Or around the time of the ball.
Mm.
And also we've got Luciana that's in California.
Oh yeah.
She says hi.
What have we got? Oh, she says that they don't have radar keys in Brazil, and even having a card saying you need special needs, sometimes they don't let you in. That's the issue with the can't wait card as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a recognised thing, really, and people need to know more about what people that own toilets, I suppose, need to know more about that.
And I think also because there's so many, you can get so many different types from like all the stoma companies do them, the charities do them, the associations do them, Colitis and Crohn's do them. There's so many different places that do these cards. They're all slightly different. And maybe it'd be better if there was just a standard one for everybody, because then they would tell the colour. And because I've used a can't wait card before and I got refused. This was a while ago when I was in Select in Bridgend, and I got refused to use the can't wait card.
Well, I didn't realise that that the actual toilets themselves with the radar key, I didn't realise until I walked in on someone myself that they open even when they're locked. Now I was at work, right? I'm not going to mention my work, DHL. But one of the cleaners, I'm not going to mention his name. No, I'm really not going to mention his name. But I was desperate for the toilet. My bag was like going to explode, and I've rushed in there and I've opened the door, walked in, and he's come sharpishly walking out, holding his phone in one hand. God knows what he was up to, but he was in a hurry to get out, and then he avoided me like the plague. Then for about a month, wouldn't. And I was trying to say to him, I need someone to sort this toilet out because when you opened it on the inside, because I didn't know that someone. I realised then that someone could walk in on me while I'm emptying my bag. You lifted the handle up, right, and I got someone to test it, and I held the handle up, and someone outside, I said, right, use my key, try and open it, and it wouldn't open. But when you open this handle up, it went back down, which allowed it to be open.
They're not very sturdy, are they?
No. So if the handle would have stayed up, and I wanted to speak to that cleaner to get the maintenance because he was in control of cleaning the toilet, but I couldn't speak to him because it was so embarrassing because I knew what he was up to. No, this is and I couldn't tell no one because I didn't want to get him into trouble, but I wanted the toilet fixed.
Yeah,
it was a real one of them subjects where you can't mention it for mentioning it.
Is it still broken?
I'm not in that block anymore. But you know what? Even now, he sort of goes, all right, Stu. Look away.
Graham's just a good thing.
Dirty man.
I know the saying, respect your elders, but these old people should also respect their juniors. Which is true. I think it's
young people's rule. Only joking.
But no, it's a good point.
I get quite a few comments. Like I had an article in the UA and I had an email of somebody and they said, in the email they were saying, oh, it's good to see that you're volunteering with UA. Young people like yourselves don't. You're all selfish. And I read it out to Steve because I wasn't quite sure how to reply because it's like it's difficult because I think there is judgment. We're supposed, like Graham's right. It's there is judgment there with our age. We sort of been tarnished with a brush as we're taught not to.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to be a too. Sorry, I'm so tired. I'm not really making much sense tonight.
Okay. I've just been. Luciana said that in the US she's got no issues using the disabled toilets, but I've just asked her if they need a key or anything like. She says she's not got a radar key, but I'm wondering if they have keys or any sort of thing to access them, or whether they're just open for all. And she said there was one. She took a picture. It says all genders.
Okay.
So obviously no key needed.
No key, no. Here in the US, no. At the airport, she just went into the family room, which a lot of them over here, they've got the baby. See, this is the other thing, isn't it? When they combine the disabled toilet with the baby changing facilities, they leave it open because mums and dads changing babies' nappies don't have
the key,
a radar key. But really, they're not for that. And somebody changing a baby's nappy can take a bloody long time when you've got a bag that's full up and you're like, oh, hurry up. So,
can I just say as well, when we were at the airport, we had an amazing care, didn't we, Steve, from the air hostess. When I went,
amazing.
They were really, really good because I decided to be all strong and stubborn, and I didn't use a wheelchair get into Gran Canaria. But on the way back, we stopped off at Amsterdam, and I was really struggling. It was full on days. It was a great experience, but it wasn't a holiday. It was a working holiday. We worked very hard, and my prolapse was massive. And when we were on the plane, I just said to Steve, I can't walk anymore. I physically was effed. I really was. I couldn't function. And we asked. They saw straight away that I didn't look well. And they kind of asked us, and they were brilliant. They got us assistance, and they really sorted it out for us. And they were really kind. It was KLM, wasn't it, Steve? And on the way back, they were really good. And I'm so proud that
they literally said, "Come out of the bathroom. We'll shut the curtains so you can sort yourself out." in the outside bit, because you know how tight the toilets are.
It was so, because I've not been on a plane like since my stoma, so this is the first time, and I sort of left out, and because I was trying to adjust both bags, I sort of was facing them, and I just went, oh, I'm just, because I don't mind, I was like, I'm just changing, and she said, oh, we can close the curtain and don't worry, and then they helped us then, and it was just really kind of, it's made me like really excited for flying in the future, and all the worries I had with flying have totally gone. You know, I don't like actual flying. I was quite weird, hit some turbulence, and I was not good because I don't like flying. But the fear of going through security, that was fine, and the plane, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
The security on the way back was amazing. The ones in Amsterdam, they were brilliant.
Oh yeah.
Then as soon as I said I was from Birmingham, they were like, "Peaky Blinders, mate," talking about the series.
Brilliant.
Yeah, they were funny, weren't they?
They were so funny, and they were really friendly because I was in the chair and they were talking to Steve and then saying, "Oh, we call him Mr. Shelby because his name is Thomas." Yeah, it was good.
Anyway, where was we?
I used to work at the airport, so I used to have to book.
Did you?
Did you?
What did you do?
Taking in, I was taking girl, boarding, meeting the planes, and bringing people into the arrival.
Oh, wicked!
Wow.
And KLM giving me free beer on the way home.
Oh, really?
Free beer, free snacks. I was like, what? What's going on here?
We went on
£9 for a glass of Coke.
Yeah. Oh,
free beer and a free cup of tea.
Well, I was employed by Menzies, but we did the EasyJet contract, so I was placed on EasyJet. So they charge you for everything, don't they? But no, that was a fun job. But what was I going to say? Oh yeah, when I went on a cruise before I had my stoma and everything, so I've not been on a plane. But it was like a charter plane, so all the people on the plane would go into the same cruise as us. So we got there and we just got straight off. We didn't have to go through security. Well, we did, but a special security just for our plane because we were all going the same place. And but that was all free stuff. They were like bringing you free wine and
wow.
I was like, yeah, couldn't have that much fun.
We went straight to the front of the queue as well. We was waiting like a good one, and then the security saw that Rachel was in a wheelchair, zooming through to the front. It's like being at Alton Towers.
Yeah, right.
But they said I was quite
best to say though, because there are so many things set up to help people with, like the wheelchair assistance. You can then get boarded first so that you're not sort of bombarded, because sometimes, especially like obviously I worked on EasyJet, so it's a free seating, isn't it? So everybody just runs on to get their seats.
First come, first serve.
But you can tell them, and they can get you on priority boarding. They can get lifts, so you don't, if you can't manage stairs to planes, stuff like that. But it is always worth telling them, because it's stuff people can do, and it's so easy.
I was pleasantly surprised. I have been really impressed that they understood what stomas were. They didn't, like Steve buzzed and he went through the body check, and I could see his stoma bag, because I tried to take a picture, and I got told off because I was trying to take a picture of security of him going through the body scan.
Insecurity. Wow.
But you can see. Yeah, but you know what Steve did, Nat? He left all of his toiletries in his hand luggage.
Oh,
so
no.
he got like 50 quid's worth all gone.
Oh no. Oh, blimey.
He was raging. I didn't even think to check that he had put it in.
£18 bottle of sun cream, brand new, not even opened, throw it in the bin.
Oh, you woolly. No, but they can escort you through security in that as well if you need help. So if people are really worried about stuff like that, just say to them, you're disabled, you would like some assistance, and all that can be. You often get to the front of the queue because obviously the person working has to get back to whatever else they're doing, so they can whisk through and obviously help explain the situation. And
we didn't know that. That's why we were in the queue with the chair, and we didn't know because we hadn't booked the assistance. We just asked for it when on the plane because I was struggling. They had 13 people that needed to come off in wheelchairs, so they didn't really have the time. So Steve just wheeled me anyway. We were in Amsterdam for a while, but yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I agree with you, Nat. I think if anybody's worried about flying or worried about going away, just do it. Like I can't believe I waited this long. A lot of it was to do with money, but a lot of it was fear. was fear about flying, how I would cope with my 2 bags. When I had my catheter, I really struggled with the pain and the I think it inflated and it caused problems when we went high. This time was fine. There's no problems at all. It was really worth it.
My ears, oh, the last flight I was in agony. My left ear, it was screaming, it was stinging so bad I was vile. And then I got battered by the vibrating chair.
Was that one of those massage chairs?
Yeah, the airport. Yeah, you put two euros in, and it kicks you in the back a bit. Oh my god!
In fact, it's on charge down here. I can take it off now and use it. I brought a TENS machine.
Okay, yeah, I got a TENS machine.
Yeah, do you know, for like my back and stuff.
Is it helping?
I've not tried it yet. Literally, I put it on charge when I got it on Monday, and then forgot to take it off, and it's still sat here on charge. So
use it. They're brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Find out your most painful parts. The most painful parts normally back. You know, like where you would spasm.
Yeah,
middle of your back.
Back's been really bad, and I find when I stay at Steve's, I've got a memory foam mattress, and he's not. So it's like springy and bumpy and lumpy, and I get my back is just so bad after.
Let's just say you had a painful bit there. Put a pad either side, and it will redirect the pain. I tell you, they're brilliant. When you're in severe agony, you're in control then of the vibration, whether you want it to pulse or whether you want it to go ooh ooh.
I used them for when I had the bad, because when you have a catheter or superacute catheter, they're like pains like giving birth to your bladder, and I used to use them a lot, and they used to help. Sometimes they didn't help, but when I had the abdo pain as well before I had my stomas, I found that they're really helpful. I haven't had to use them for a while because luckily my pains localized to stoma and not so widespread as it used to be, but they really did help. Let us know how you get on.
The hardest part is actually putting it on. Because if unless you got Steve to help you, you need like a marker pen and press the marker pen where your pain is. Because if you're having spasms on your back, you try and stick them on as well. It's a nightmare. And then you get them on, then you get your vest on, and then you switch it on, and you think, oh, it's not even in the bloody right place.
Yeah. No.
Or it's just stuck to your t-shirt the wrong way.
Yeah.
So has anybody got anything else on the chat that you would like to add?
Things I was going to say.
With what we said tonight, is there anything you'd like to add or any questions you've got for us? Or
thing is, you can buy the keys online, so that should stop, which is a good point, I think.
I bought mine from eBay because before I was a part of the ostomy community, I didn't know that the associations and charities can give the keys. So I actually bought mine online. It was my friend who's very close to me. He's a bit like my uncle, really. He has a disabled key, and he told me about it, and I bought it from eBay, so that was good.
Yeah,
I had the free one.
Just be.
Go on.
You're tasting. I had my first one was in my first pack that I got from the hospital. And I didn't even realise it was in there, because when you leave hospital, you have that many freebies, but I didn't even look at it. And then when I bought one from a car park in Birmingham, underneath there was like a disabled where you could hire, like disabled vehicles and stuff like that. And I bought one from there for about £4.50. So I ended up having two, but I gave one to one of the chaps at work who had he had a stoma. A tracheostomy, which I didn't realise at the time was a stoma.
Oh,
I thought of it.
Yeah,
stoma's Greek for artificial opening. So
yeah. Because for years and years, me and my mates we used to have this running joke about stomas, and it was literally about tracheostomy, and then it was just ironic that like 2 years down the line, I would end up having one. And then we had this chat, like a drunken chat, about a year ago, and it was like, bloody hell, that was a bit surreal that we used to have this running joke, because I didn't realise that stoma was just an artificial opening, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd never really heard the word stoma. I just knew of a bag, because I remember that being my initial, when I got told I got Crohn's, I was like, that's it, my life is ended, I'm going to end up with one of those bags, and I did. but actually it was the best thing to happen out of the whole situation. So
and I think that's a really good point, Natalie, what you said, because I think this is why it's so important, like us telling our stories, because the assumption, I was speaking to somebody who I put a post up about body confidence today, and I was speaking to somebody that said, you know, back in the 80s there was so much stigma around stoma bags, and I think the more we talk about it, the more it has changed. Like it has saved my life. It's changed my life beyond recognizable. I was so different to how I am now. I didn't do anything. I could hardly move. For me, even though I had the chronic constipation before with the slow transit due to my illness, I still struggled really with the catheters and the bladder. When I got rid of my bladder, that was the best decision. I'm so glad my cells mutated, because I didn't have to fight to get my bladder out. I've got many people I'm supporting at the moment that they're fighting to get a urostomy done. You know, they don't want the catheters any longer, and it's a big struggle. And I think it's also not just for like the general public, but also medical professionals, how it can change people's lives, because they also have I don't know if you found it as well, but they also have an assumption. Like I remember one doctor saying to me, oh, you wouldn't be able to cope with a second stoma. This was before I had to have my second stoma, and they have their own assumptions with it as well.
I know somebody who I hope she won't mind me saying, because I won't mention her name just in case, but she was one of the people that I sort of first got talking to in the ostomy community, I suppose, and before she had her operation a few months before me. And I remember her being told by, I don't know whether it's a doctor or a stoma nurse, but it was like, oh, but you're so young, why would you want one? Or why, because she's chosen to now keep it as well. They were like, oh, why don't you want it reversed? You're so young. And they don't get that at all. And I was really lucky. I've just been for my meeting with a surgeon. I mean, my gastro doctor's fantastic. She was very much like, do what you want. Like, if you want it reversing and we can do it, we'll try it. If you don't, like, I can completely understand why. But she said, see the surgeon, see what you think. And I was like, yeah, I'm happy to meet with him. And he basically said the same. He was like, you're healthy, you're doing well. He said, if you want me to look at doing it, he said, I can't promise that I can do a reversal. We'd have to sort of see what's going on. But he said, we can do. But I was really lucky in that respect. But she had just so much from the medical staff as well saying, oh, but why? And she had a real hard time explaining how much it changed her life for the better.
And not just that, the knowledge in the hospitals. Like when I overheard a nurse say to a patient that you can never have a bath with a stoma, that's just so wrong.
It's right, madness, isn't it?
And this one guy I spoke to had a bath for 5 years because of the same information. That's what I'm passionate about. That's what I'm passionate about changing, and that's what I want to change. For me, I used to work in a healthcare profession in radiotherapy, and I just feel like we have got a long way to go to try and get more awareness for all types of stomas in the healthcare professions. Yeah.
Well, all of us on this show, let's face it, all of us are appreciative of our ostomies, of our urostomies. Perhaps we should get someone on our show. This would be a first. Get someone on our show that doesn't like their bag.
Yeah, because there are.
I think that would be quite a good show,
Yeah, I took part in a poll yesterday, and it was on about.
Perhaps that's my show.
Would you rather take medication for the rest of your life or have your ostomy for the rest of your life? I was like, ostomy. I was like, I have to do both anyway. But if I could get rid of the meds, I would keep the ostomy without a doubt.
Yeah.
But there were people on there that said, I would get rid of this ostomy. I hate it. So there is.
I remember having a chat on the line. We spoke about it before, and someone had said, "I'd rather be dead than have a bag." And it might be shocking to us to hear that, but you got to respect people's. But then like I said before, my instant question was, do you have family? Do you have children? Do you have a wife? So the answer was no. Obviously, I don't think his original statement would. And then the amount of people that joined in, they weren't nasty or attacking him. And then he did. I'm sure that he had to have a bag in the end. And because of all the positive feedback he got from that one post the post went on and on and on. It was pages long.
And your opinions can change as this so much.
They really did. He had to have it in the end, and he kind of like realised by all of the positive stuff. Don't get me wrong, there's always the negatives as well. You know, you got to be prepared for. It doesn't always go right.
But it's a journey of acceptance.
It changed his mind, and he was so thankful of everyone who'd piped up. There was no nastiness. There was no, you know, I think a few people had started to sort of say, you know, how dare you say that, because he's entitled to his opinion, just like we are.
Yeah, of course.
And it is in your time as well. It's like I'm most confident I've been about my body now. I wasn't when I first had my ileostomy. But just quickly before we finish, we just had a few comments. I don't know your name, Exploring Haunted Places with Ash and Silly, but he said, is it Ash?
Comments, I think Ash. I think
before my bag, I had a 40-day painkiller addiction, and I can identify because I've struggled with my addiction with my pain medication like 2 years ago, and that's difficult.
Yeah,
because I don't really talk about it too much because I don't like going into details. But I was misusing my fentanyl and my my OxyContin because I just couldn't. I wasn't coping with the prognosis I was given. I wasn't coping with my ileostomy at the time, but my catheter in particular. And then as soon as I had my second surgery and I had my urostomy, that was it. I decided to stop, and life has just been amazing. And that's why I make sure I don't drink alcohol or I don't do anything now. So I'm very careful about that.
Well, that's the thing. These drugs are very addictive, aren't they, in themselves?
Yeah.
You know, what initially can start as pain meds can easily become, you know, more relied upon, more than just used for their initial use. I think, you know, and to come off them like that, it's a big, strong move, and fair play to you.
You can use it as a crutch, and then 1 goes to 2. You're in pain, so you take an extra one, and you take an extra one, and then it kind of you're on this spiral that you know what you're doing, but you don't know what you're doing until you reach kind of the rock bottom and something happens and you think, actually I need to change. But also
actually, because I'm sort of on the fence with it a little bit, because I also take the opinion that I'm in pain every day. There is not a day that goes by without, but it's been like that always for me, and I've been very much I will try not to take my pain meds. It's something I have to deal with because I have it. I'm going to have it forever, and
that's your norm.
Yeah. But at the same time, don't make me feel guilty for taking Tramadol or my Oromorph. I generally only take that at night, and it's only as needed, so it's not very often. But don't make me feel guilty for doing that, because I am in a lot of pain. Do you know what I mean? But then, like you say, Rachel, I can completely get how easy it is. I've seen it in other people, and I know myself. I know when my marriage was failing and I was really ill, I went to alcohol. Not to the point where I was excessively ill, but I just knew in my head. It was sort of the lead up to Christmas, so you have bottles of wine and bits and bobs around the house, don't you? And I was drinking 1 or 2 glasses every night just to get through the night. My marriage was breaking down. I was like, I don't want to sit and talk to him, and I was using that as sort of my escape. And by the Christmas, and then obviously everything sort of disintegrated then anyway. And I sort of said to my mum, look, I need to take the alcohol out of the house because I'm using it. And I knew, and luckily that I was quite, but it is, like you're saying, it's the same with pain meds. Just think, I'll just take 1 more, it will help me sleep. Or
and I appreciate what you're saying. Like, for some people, you know, and I need it. I've got a 8-inch prolapse that is massive, and it hurts. It's really painful, you know. But what I tend to do is meditation helps for me around. I do still use pain relief. I take 3 Tramadol a day, but I'm really careful around my medication. I don't take more than that. If I do take more, it's either I'm in hospital or I kind of check with. I have a friend that checks with that stuff, so I'll say, right, I'm taking an extra one, and I'm kind of always accountable to it because I know how easy it can change. But it's just through my personal choice. I'm better not drinking. I'm awful on alcohol, and I'm better not drinking. And I like who I am now. 2 years ago, I hated myself. I like who I am. And we don't just all have a chronic illness journey. We have a journey in all of us have had past. We've gone through hard times, and I think they all link sometimes.
They do. It's a level of acceptance.
You can't separate it.
It's levels. I mean, I used to be in agony with my bowel, with the amount of times that I was on the toilet, and it kind of, even with the amount of drugs that I was taking to combat it that weren't working, you come to a point where that's your norm. Like you, Natalie, with your arthritic pain. I've had my hips, right? When my hips was flaring and I had like 6 to 8 weeks off work, I've never known pain like it in my life. I didn't want to live. It was just vile. I couldn't get out of bed. I was struggling to get to the toilet just for a wee because I couldn't get out off the bed. You know, having to wear pajamas so that you can literally pull your leg over because there's no... So the pain was vile. Then to suddenly have that pain lifted through my Humira and my methotrexate, which worked for that, didn't touch the colitis at all. To suddenly have it gone made me feel really appreciative of good health.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's you know when you've been at your most painful, yeah. Now if you can just halve that, it's so much better. Yeah. Even though you're still suffering.
But I mean, I'm sat here.
It's your norm then, isn't it?
It's hurting, but I can also remember.
Yeah.
The day
worse.
When it was even worse, and
yeah, and you've got to keep remembering that,
yeah.
I think you have, because then you know when you're at your rock bottom. But even at rock bottom, it's a base to start building from, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's a sad thing that you have to do that, but I think if you're going to live a life, you've got a chronic illness. It's not going to go away, so you have to set your mind at that, and you have to get yourself to
as comfortable as you can with what you got. And if it means taking painkillers, then you do it. If it gets to a point where you're physically and mentally addicted to it, then obviously that's an issue that you have to deal with yourself. But I think
with your GP as well.
But just pain in itself can cause so many mental problems.
Yeah.
You know, without the drugs, without even just having that. Yeah, it's exhausting.
I think that maybe that's a subject we could cover at some point, because I don't think we've talked about chronic pain.
No, I don't.
Because there's so much that can be covered. There's so many psychological. There's so much that can be covered with pain and pain clinics, and maybe we could do that one day. But before we wrap up, I'd just like to wish Graham good luck with your Botox surgery next Thursday. And
watch from his bed, bless him, in hospital.
Yeah.
Who's that, Graham?
Yeah, Graham. And Natalie, what are we covering next week? Because I have no idea.
Next week, we've got, I believe Jasmine's coming back on to guest host, and we're doing Valentine's gift guides for the chronically ill. I mean, it's going to be Valentine's based loosely, but I just think it'd be nice to sort of talk about things like visiting people in hospital and what you can do to help and all that, not necessarily all Valentine's themed.
Cool.
And I've got to send you to your Mr. and Mrs. questions.
Oh no! This is Christmas all over again.
I'll be really good at that.
That will be the week after. But I'll wait till you've gone back to Bournemouth, because then you're not together.
So you're gonna send us the questions?
Yeah, I've got slightly different questions for both.
Oh my God.
And then obviously I need your answers from you, and then on the night I'll ask Steve those questions. If that
right, and perhaps I should need to do some questions for you and Steve then. How'd you like that then?
We shall, but no. So that should be just a bit of fun. And I was thinking on the last Thursday.
Looks like you're next to me there, Rachel. Looks like you're next to me.
I'm in the other room.
The last week of the show, I thought about, and it has been mentioned to me before on the show, I replied to an inbox, and it was about people who have stomas for other reasons than IBD, which Rachel knows about. I've been talking to a lady today, so I might well see if somebody could come on the show, somebody else with the different...
Louise, not Louise. Oh, sorry, Natalie. My brain. Natalie, that goes in perfectly, because on the 28th of February, it's Rare Disease Day. So that kind of ties the end of the month, and because that was the subject that I wrote, and I wrote a post that's going out on tomorrow, and it's about how I felt having my stomas not due to IBD and cancer. And before I found the stoma community where there's been no judgment, they've accepted me in and it's been brilliant. But before that, I really struggled with accepting my stomas because I felt nobody understood my illness, because I was on the fence, I was out on the outskirts, and I think that would be an amazing show.
So I thought we could do that at the end of the month. So like I say, I'm talking to one lady, and sort of what's it in, I'll check obviously with you guys, might see if we can get somebody else on the show who also, obviously we've got you for experience, but I'll be rolling out polls and all that malarkey. But no, we're going all loved up for the next 2 weeks, Valentine's Day and all that.
Brilliant. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for everybody on the live chat, and it's been brilliant. We wish Louise and Steffi that they hope they feel better.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see you next week. Now I've got to press the stop broadcast.
Bye.
Bye.